It's VanMan Talks Metal. Greetings, and greetings to those of you that have come over from my other YouTube channel, VanMan Talks. I'm starting a whole new channel where I discuss my other love of life, metal. My other channel, VanMan Talks, very political, very current affairs, which I love talking about, but it can get very depressing, so I'd like to go on to another subject of a passion of mine, which is metal music. And we're going to start today with the classic video, the classic topic for any metal YouTuber out there: Metallica albums ranked worst to best. So starting off straight away, Lulu. Now of course there's not going to be much discussion about this really. I hate this album, I hate Lou Reed, I hate people that talk in songs. What are you doing? Sing. If you want to talk, go do a poetry evening somewhere. This album is awful. Whoever thought of, whether it was Lou Reed or Metallica, whoever came up with this idea, they need to go see a psychiatrist. How could this ever have worked? It's terrible. And I've got to be honest, I just can't do it. I haven't listened to the whole album. I've got about 2.5 songs in. And like I say, I can't stand Lou Reed. I guess there's a few good riffs in here. If you're going to give it any positives, I guess there might be a couple of James Hetfield singing harmonies in here that might be half decent, but I can't torture myself by going through the whole album, so that's it, done. Next, obviously, probably same on most people's lists, Scent Anger is next on the list. Now this album to me is kind of like the album and the documentary, Some Kind of Monster, all infused into one. It's the outcome of that documentary, the anger of the band, the disruption that the band's going through, the just no direction, and it's all just spewed out into this one album. And you know, there's some good things in here. I like the song Scent Anger. I'll still listen to Scent Anger, that's a good song. There's some good riffs in here. The riff for Frantic is a great riff, but I can't get on with the TikToks afterwards. It's so cheesy and lame. It really is. I mean, I don't need to talk about the drumming really, do I? I mean, well, the one thing I'd like to know about the drumming, surely one of them in that band thought that wasn't a good idea. There must have been one of them that just wanted to pipe up and saying, have you actually heard the drums? Have you heard what the drums sound like? Am I just the only one that's hearing this? You know, maybe Rob. I think Rob came in. Did he record on that album? Or was it Bob Rock that recorded the bass, wasn't it? I think he just toured the album, I guess. Rob Trujillo. I don't know, let me know in the comments. I don't think he had any influence in the recording, but anyway, someone must have piped up and said, you know what, these drums are pretty shit, I think we need to change it. But yeah, there's small little elements in this album that are quite good. Like I pointed out, a few riffs. The song Invisible Kid has got a good little harmony in it. And there's some other aspects, but then you just get thrown some utter shite. Like the beginning of Invisible Kid is actually quite great when that riff kicks in and the drum kicks in, but then it just goes into that embarrassing I'm okay, just go away. Oh, which is just taken like straight out of a early 90s Korn album. And don't get me wrong, I love Korn, but Metallica don't do Korn. Korn does Korn, Metallica don't do Korn. And I think that's another reason why this album is so bad really, the new metal influence. It was recorded in the early 2000s. It just stinks of that new metal, and not good new metal, when new metal was starting to get a bit old and mouldy. and way past its due. But you know, yeah, they were touring, Metallica were touring with Korn and stuff at that sort of time, Slipknot, so you can obviously see the new metal influences on the song. Unnamed Feeling, it pretty much starts off with a Jonathan Davis scream. But yeah, that's my feeling on St. Anger. There's a couple of little bits in there that are okay, but obviously it's just overall tosh really, isn't it? Not good at all. And next we have Reload. Now, what I'd always say about these albums, Load and Reload, Reload's the choice that I've made here, is if you took the best tracks out of both albums and made one album out of it, it would probably knock up 2 places in my list, because there's some cracking tracks on this album and it's a great rock album. But I do only like really the sort of first 4 songs, but there's some absolutely cracking Metallica tracks on this album. Fuel, come on, give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which says ooh, yeah, come on, it's brilliant, it's awesome, it's classic Metallica. The Memory Remains is one of my favourite songs live, it's brilliant. Oh my god, I'll never forget seeing them at Wembley Stadium, the whole stadium singing la 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 la. La, 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 la. Oh, it's epic, absolutely brilliant. So there's some great tracks on this album, but for me, once you get past those first 4 or 5 tracks, I just get a bit bored with it. So no surprises. Next up is Load after Reload. It just pips Reload to the next spot, just because I think there's 5 tracks that I like on this album as opposed to 4 on Reload. But you know, again, some great classic Metallica tracks on this album. King Nothing, awesome track, awesome rock track. When it all crashes down and you break your crown, awesome. Where's your crown, King Nothing? What track? Excellent. It just breathes Metallica, that track. What else? Ain't My Bitch, brilliant track. Ain't My Bitch. Out of my way, out of my day, out of my... Awesome, love it. But yeah, I just can't get past those first 5 tracks really. I don't know, a lot of people love these albums and all power to them, you know, they're good albums. But yeah, they don't quite do it for me, so yeah, Load. Oh, next up we have Hardwired to Self-Destruct. Now, if you like riffs, this is the album for you. This album has got riffs, oh my god, packed full of riffs. You're a riff man, this album's for you. Now, it's a little bit lower on my list of some of the other more recent Metallica albums, just because I do find there are a couple of sort of skippable tracks on here, but it does have some absolutely cracking tracks. I mean, Hardwired itself, Atlas, Spit Out the Bone, all great tracks. Moth to the Flame, the riff in Moth to the Flame is probably maybe in my top 5 favourite Metallica riffs. I absolutely love that riff. Excuse my dodgy riff singing, but it's great. It's definitely probably in my top 5 favourite riffs, that song, and it's a great album with some great songs. But yeah, it just goes a little bit lower just because I do find there are a couple of skippable tracks, but it is heavy. It is heavy, this album. It's definitely the heaviest, you know, since Injustice. Just let this lady out here before we go to our next one. There you go, she's very happy. You're on YouTube, love. So next up we have Death Magnetic. Now, I've got some fond memories of this album. I mean, 6-7 years after the disappointment of St. Anger, it was such a breath of fresh air for this album to come out, and it was good. It was Metallica back to form, and I remember seeing them tour Wembley Stadium after this album. I'm pretty sure I saw him at one of the festivals, Reading Festival maybe as well afterwards. So yeah, I've got some fond memories of this album. Maybe it's been pushed up the list a little bit because of the nostalgia factor. But there are some quality songs. I don't think there's a song that I want to skip on this album. I think it's maybe one or two, but there's some great songs on this album. Broken, Beaten, Scarred, End of the Line, My Apocalypse. What a way to end the album. Fucking hell, that's a slap in the face. And anyone that says they didn't cream their pants when they first heard that opening bass line to Cyanide is lying. I remember, actually, I'm fairly certain, a couple of my friends will back me up, and I'm fairly certain that I heard that song before they released the album when they played Reading Festival, and they just said we're going to play a new song, and then Rob just comes out with that bass. I was like, oh yes, this is good. This is not Saint Anger, this is brilliant. So yeah, an all-round really good, solid Metallica album. I think it just pips Hardwired, just because I think there's a few tracks that I do skip on that album, but this one I think I just play the album straight through. Good solid tracks all round. So next up we have the Black Album. So now we're getting into the territory where there is definitely not a single bad track on any of these albums. Every single song on this album is good, and yeah, okay, you know, some of these tracks are overplayed. The Unforgiven, Enter Sandman, you've heard it a million times, but the thing is, even Enter Sandman, as soon as those drums kick in, bum 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 bum, it's still awesome. I think that I can't listen to Enter Sandman anymore, but then it starts up and I'm like, oh god, this is good. But you know, other than the most famous tracks that we're all used to, there's some great solid tracks on this album. Holier Than Thou, Wherever I May Roam, My Friend Misery, brilliant solid tracks. And this is where a lot of people started going off Metallica, but they're just, you know, that the Black Album is just a fantastic solid rock album. It's not thrash, it's not early Metallica, but it doesn't mean it's not good. It's solid, good rock album, and I love it. I absolutely love it. So next up we have Garage Inc. Now, before you start all typing in the, I can hear you tippy tapping away, typing in the comment section, oh, Garage Inc.'s a covers album, you can't have it on the list. Fuck off, my list. I don't care, it's an awesome album, it needs to go on the list. You want to make your own list, go fuck off, make your own list. This is my list, okay? And Garage Inc. is on there, and I love this album, and I'm going to piss a lot of people off here, because I'm going to also say every single song on this album is better than the original. Yet again, I can hear the tippy tapping away of Black Sabbath fans, Motorhead fans going, what? But it's just true, it's my opinion. It's what I think, it's just true. I would rather listen to the Metallica version of every single one of these songs than the original. I don't care. And there's just some amazing tracks in it. Even the opening track, Free Speech for the Dumb, I could listen for that riff forever. Just that simple, just put that on repeat for ages. I love it. I absolutely love it. And there are some quality tracks on here. Die My Darling, the Merciful Fate medley. I guess they probably had an argument about which song they wanted to cover, so they just done a medley, and that's the thing. Last Caress, what a track. My band, when I was in a band in my younger days, my band used to cover this song, and we used to do quite a good version because my singer was absolutely obsessed with Metallica, so we'd sing it in the style of Metallica, and my drummer was a pop punk guy, and he used to like the Misfits version, so musically it was more in the style of the Misfits but sung in the style of James Hetfield. It was good, I liked it. But that might be the closest cover, because I do like the Misfits version. It's more sort of melodic, melody, chorusy style of that song. But yeah, absolutely cracking album. There's so many songs on this album, and I love and adore every single one of them. Brilliant album. Next, Kill 'Em All. What a debut album. We're getting to the territory now where I really wouldn't blame anyone for switching any of these albums around now. But what a debut album. There is not a bad track on this album. Hit the Lights, Motor Breath, Whiplash. Oh my god. I got a funny thing with my mate when we used to go see Metallica live. He always used to shout out for Whiplash, and it was kind of a sort of in joke that every single time we went to see Metallica, he'd shout out Whiplash, and they'd never play it. They'd never ever play it until the one time where they actually started playing it. I look at my mate in a bit of confusion at first. I'm like, is it? Is it? It fucking is. They're playing Whiplash. Yes. That's always going to be a fond memory of me. But yeah, this album is a cracking album for your debut album. Four Horsemen, one of my favourite songs live now. You know, I absolutely love it, and they tend to play it most of the time when they play live. Horsemen are drawing nearer. Never see their lives come to take your life. What a cracking song live. Fast, Furious, obviously with that heavy Dave Mustaine influence on the album. It's absolutely cracking, and it's probably, if for pure thrash, if you're going to say what's Metallica's best thrash album, it's Kill 'Em All. You could also say what is the best thrash album, Kill 'Em All. So I wouldn't blame anyone for having this album at the top of their list. It's absolutely epic, and I kind of think it's. Someone asked me before, what riff instantly do you think Metallica when you hear it? And a lot of people say Enter Sandman or something like that, but I think it's got to be Seek and Destroy. When I hear that riff, bum bum bam now, bum bam now, bum 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 bam now, I just think, yes, Metallica. Awesome album, absolutely love it. I wanna put it on now. Next up we have Master of Puppets. Ooh. Now this is a controversial one, I can see it already. This I'd probably say the majority of Metallica fans have this at number one. And it is an amazing album. Like I said before, all the top 6-7 albums of Metallica are all epic albums I absolutely adore, and I absolutely adore this album, and I absolutely adore every single track on this album. They are amazing songs, but overplayed Metallica fatigue sets in the most for me on this album. And it sets in the most heavily for Master of Puppets and Sanitarium. Both those songs are absolutely amazing songs, but this is going to be controversial, but I think I could go the rest of my life without listening to either of those songs again. It's just fatigue, and when I first heard this album, I done it overkill. I just absolutely adored this album. I played it many a times in my youth. The rock pubs and rock Saturday nights that I used to go to, Master of Puppets would always be played, and it's done enough for me. You know, you say Enter Sandman is probably the most overplayed Metallica song, and it is on the radio, but I don't listen to the radio. You know, I like I say, in my youth, going to rock nights and stuff like that, they wouldn't play Enter Sandman, they play Master of Puppets. Pretty much every gig you go to, isn't Master of Puppets always played in the music before the band comes out? It is, and it's fatigued on me, but they're both amazing songs. And you know, the other songs on the album are obviously absolutely amazing. Leper Messiah is such an underrated Metallica song for me. That riff, bow to Leper Messiah, bam bam now, bam bam now. It still saddens me. I haven't seen that song live yet. It's one of my favourite, probably my favourite off. Well, I'd say one of my favourites off of Master of Puppets. But you know, there are some amazing songs in it. Orion, amazing song, but yeah, it just does that fatigue. That's the only reason. It just misses out on the top 2 for me, because it's just got a bit more fatigue than other albums. That's literally the only reason. So we're into the top 2 now, and you're about to find out what my favourite Metallica album is. But in number 2 is it's Ride the Lightning. Oh, controversial. Like I said, most Metallica fans would have Master of Puppets as their favourite album. If they don't, they'd usually have Ride the Lightning. I'll give my reasons to why it's not my number 1. But first of all, I would have done anything to be able to transport myself back to 1984 when this album came out, and for the first time hear Fight Fire with Fire, that acoustic intro and then banging in with the riff would have been absolutely amazing. And I say travel back to that time because now when you hear it, you know, bands have done similar things, but back then that would have been, you know, revolutionary, absolutely amazing. But there's some quality tracks. Every single song on this album is amazing. For Whom the Bell Tolls, probably one of my favourite Metallica tracks. I'm a bass player and I used to love playing that, learning that intro and playing that bass intro. Even songs like Trapped Under Ice and Escape are just quality songs. Creeping Death, probably one of my favourite live tracks now. They seem to play it every single time and it's absolutely amazing live. Even when I'm talking about it now, I want to put it as number 1, but I do have solid reasons why it's not. And if you have this at number 1, I can't complain with you at all. I totally agree why you have this as your favourite Metallica album. It's amazing. Yeah, Fade to Black has got to be their best ballad. I suppose it's a ballad, isn't it? I guess. I don't know, it gets pretty heavy. But oh god, what an amazing song. So yeah, that's my number 2. Okay, so that leaves number 1. And Justice for All. Now, I think there is a small sort of cult following for people that have this album at number 1. My best mate, who's probably a bigger Metallica fan than I am, I think this is his favourite album. Reason it's controversial is no Cliff Burton, I mean no bass at all, really. But this for me is it's their darkest. It's a dark album, isn't it? It's their heaviest album. Even, you know, we can talk to the cows come home about there being no bass, but there's no bass, but it's still their heaviest album, I think. It's heavy, it's dark, and I think it's got some of the best performances on it. I think Kurt Hammett's solos the best on this album. His solo for One is probably my favourite solo he's ever done. Lars is at his best on this album. Now, okay, let's talk about Lars. Let's talk about Lars and his drumming. I am the biggest defendant of Lars Ulrich. If you say Lars is a shit drummer, listen to this album and specifically listen to And Justice for All and tell me that those are not good drums on And Justice for All. Just drumming is amazing on that track. It's one of my favourite albums for drums. And okay, yeah, like you get to the Black album, you get to the Reload albums, and you know, yeah, his drums are incredibly simple, but he's just serving the song. I don't want the Meshuggah drummer drumming over Enter Sandman. It would sound shit. That's not what it's about. But when Lars wants to kick into gear and when he wants to perform, like on this album, he performs. And it pisses me off, all these haters at Lars Ulrich. It really annoys me, especially when the drummer of Pantera, Vinnie Paul, everyone seems to love that guy, and he seems to be pretty much identical to Lars's drumming style. I don't know, I'll probably get a load of abuse and people saying I don't know what I'm talking about, but to me they're very similar drummers, and one gets utter praise and one gets utter slander. But yeah, Lars's drumming on this album is amazing. Lars's drumming, Kurt soloing, and the angry Hetfield riffs and the angry vocals just all come together in the pinnacle of Metallica for me, and that's why Unjustice for All is my favourite album. And one day I will hear Die As Eve live. I'm hoping, same as Leper Messiah. It's my favourite track on the album, I think, Die As Eve. It's, oh my god, it's a slap round the face, isn't it? It is just an utter damn of a dear father! What is this hell you have put me through? Oh, it's brilliant, and it's absolutely epic. So yeah, that's my list of Metallica albums. I hope you enjoyed. Please feel free to put your own list down in the comments. I love seeing, I think with most bands, the big bands, people will always have different lists, and you know, that's what makes music so great, because we have difference of opinion and it's good to share. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Till next time.